Hi, I'm James Rosbrook Thompson, lecturer in sociology at Anglia Ruskin University in the UK and the author of I'm Local and Foreign, Belonging, the City and the Case for Denizenship, recently published online in the journal Urban Studies. Using the findings of 2 years ethnographic research carried out at a football club located in a super diverse area of central London, I explore the modes of belonging of a group of first, second and third generation migrants. In doing so, I tried to develop the formal, technical category of the denizen into the substantive notion of denizenship. This notion of substantive denizenship united the young men among whom my research was carried out, whether they were denizens or citizens in the formal sense, a mindset characterised by a rejection of nationhood and either a renouncement or a refusal of citizenship along with its attendant duties and obligations. In terms of the literature that I engage with in the article, I'm principally concerned with the liberal democratic model of citizenship and the threats which it supposedly faces from above in the guise of processes of economic and political globalisation, and from below in the guise of the transnational practices of migrant populations. I'm also interested in the distinction between formal and substantive citizenship, and what this distinction might tell us in terms of the aforementioned threats. A formal understanding of citizenship concerns a legal dimension of being a citizen and the role of the state in according certain rights, privileges and protections to national citizens. On the other hand, a substantive understanding of citizenship refers to the processes and practices through which citizens negotiate and contest the meaning of citizenship itself. In the paper, I argue that the formal and substantive dimensions of citizenship are not always neatly conjoined. Using the findings of my ethnographic research, I tried to demonstrate that one can possess legal status as a citizen while as far as possible abjuring one's citizenly responsibilities, just as one's allegiance to a given nation can be professed and demonstrated without citizenship being legally conferred. It's in doing so that I tried to develop the formal, technical category of the denizen into the substantive notion of denizenship. In terms of the squad itself, around 28% fitted the technical description of the denizen as resident non-citizen. If we revisit the distinction between formal and substantive citizenship, these young men were denizens in the formal sense. They shared a certain frame of mind conditioned by the fact that to be local was to originate elsewhere. To come from a local ward or borough was to trace one's ancestry to a foreign territory. The central feature of this mindset was a sense of belonging based on the feeling of being alien to mainstream discourses of nationhood, to politics, to the basic functioning of the nation state, and at bottom, to the qualifications and requirements of British citizenship. A corresponding set of phenomena included a rejection of nationhood, a paucity of taxable income, a reluctance to gain the right to vote, and other strategies of refusal of citizenship and its requirements. Together, this way of thinking and acting constituted the substantive dimension of being a denizen or denizenship. However, this substantive realm wasn't the preserve of the club's formal denizens. The club's British players, who together constituted around 53% of the squad, were illustrative of a disjunction between the formal and substantive dimensions of citizenship. They also expressed a rejection of nationhood, and more specifically, an ongoing affirmation of being alien in relation to the nation state to which they nominally belonged. These expressions of self-alienation from Englishness and Britishness corresponded to actions which might be interpreted as degrees of exit from citizenship. In light of these findings, it was necessary to consider some of the theoretical tensions that a number of researchers have identified with the liberal democratic model of citizenship. Many have expressed frustration with the way that the opposition between the universal and the particular, similarity and difference, is reckoned in liberal theory, and with the implications of this reckoning for processes of inclusion and exclusion. For example, Holson and Apajori contend that the liberal democratic framing of citizenship relies on what they call a social imaginary of a nation of commensurable citizens, and they go on to contend that this sense of sufficient similarity and common purpose has disintegrated because of widening social and economic inequalities in so many of the world's cities. Caldera is also critical of this liberal framing of citizenship, labelling it the liberal fiction. I conclude the paper by suggesting that denizens occupy the interstices of the liberal democratic model of citizenship. The space is opened up by the contradiction between the universal and the particular. But whereas some city dwellers have used this contradiction to bolster claims to their incorporation into the body politic, denizens do their utmost to resist degrees of entrance to citizenship. As I try to show, they share spaces of the city with citizens who also possess this mindset, a substantive notion of denizenship, and rather than call the bluff of the liberal fiction, these individuals prefer to be left out of the story altogether.